What is up, YouTube? Sergeant Blake is back. I know that I've been missing my videos lately. I just got over the flu. I still got a little bit of crap stuck in my chest, and I'm working on getting that out. But that is why I missed my video on last Saturday and all through last week, just because I've been super fucking sick and I haven't been really into making a video. Now, today's episode of The Mind of a Gamer is, of course, episode 5. Video games are art. Not is, not are they, not, will they ever be. They are art. Now, contrary to what Roger Ebert says, and I want to talk about him in a little bit, but Roger Ebert, he wants to talk about how video games can never be art because of this, this, and this. But today is my counterpoint to that, and I'm going to talk about it really, really quickly. I'm going to provide some links for you guys so you guys can watch some videos, very interesting stuff that I've seen and very cool things by small-time people like me, by big-time companies like me, by IGN, and of course the article that Roger Ebert is probably the most famous for right now. So, really quickly, I'm going to give the Wikipedia definition of art. Art is the process or product of deliberately arranging elements in a way to affect the senses or emotions. And I'm going to say right now that under that definition, video games are art, because I have had my senses affected, my emotions affected in plenty of video games, whether it be God of War, to Grand Theft Auto, to Uncharted, and it doesn't have to be brand new things. Jak and Daxter was one of the only games that made me want to cry. Well, Jak 3. Back in the day, there were lots of games that were really, really, really good. Ratchet & Clank even has made me, happy, sad, and all types of things, just because of their ability to affect my senses and my emotions. So that means that under those definitions, under those parameters, they are indeed art. Now, a lot of people argue otherwise. A lot of people refuse to move ahead with the times. A lot of people see video games as a bad thing, and I realize that there's a problem with that. There's an issue with that, and the reason behind that is that because video games are still a relatively new type of media. We've all heard this, we all know it's true, but back in the day, radio was considered to be a toy, a plaything. Back in the day, the television was never something that was going to be as big and as serious as it is today. And unfortunately, things do get bastardized way too quickly nowadays. Whereas back in the day when television was out, there was black and white things, and there was this, and there was that, and there were a couple of movies here and there. And now we have reality TV shows on every channel and shit that's horrible. Things that really aren't quality, that really mess up what television is. And we have that in video games too, which is probably why a lot of people are refusing to acknowledge that they are art. But that doesn't mean that they're not, And my personal thing is that video games are still a very young medium, like a lot of people want to talk about, and we're not quite there yet. We're not at the very best of what we can do, but we do have very artistic things, and we definitely have things that affect our senses and our emotions. I'm going to give a few quick examples of that, of course. Uncharted 2 probably has some of the most human characters in any game. Very real characters, very real people. Of course, the actors are real people, but they do such a great job of conveying their characters more so than themselves. They are acting, we can see that, but they're acting so well that it almost seems like it's coming easily to them. Uncharted 2, whenever I'm playing that game, I'm very happy. I'm always having fun, almost all the time, just for the simple fact that it just feels like a very real game. It feels like these people, even the bad guys, are people that I could get along with, or, in the bad guy senses, not get along with. Ratchet & Clank, the most recent Ratchet & Clank has an ending that is almost very sad. Would be very, 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 very sad if it ended the way that I originally thought. So if you guys really have played Ratchet & Clank like I have, or have appreciated it for as many years as it has been out, you'd understand. But at the very end of the game, it gets really sad, and I almost cried. I almost cried at Ratchet and fucking Clank. Can you believe it? I couldn't, but I almost did. Not there yet, but I got sad. And there we go. Emotions. God of War. God of War, and this is probably one of the best examples that I have. God of War is not only an incredible game, it is not only a game that almost everybody who owns a PlayStation has. It's a game that is so incredibly hard or difficult at times, especially on your first playthrough or whatever, that you will get frustrated, you will get angry, you will have a Kratos-like rage come over you. And because of that, the developers had this great idea for at the very end of the game to put something that is Pretty much the game is over when you decide the game is over. And I'll tell you this, it involves your bare hands and one unlucky son of a bitch. And basically you press a bunch of buttons until the game is over, and you can actually press the button for a good however long you feel, until you have decided that your frustrations have been truly worked out of you through your fists and into the other guy's face. Now, I would say that that in itself is very artistic, because they had a great idea of making the game as hard as they did, or as difficult as they did, making it as frustrating as they could, and putting something that is so incredibly gratifying at the end that you almost don't want to stop until you realize there's nothing more I can do, this is it. And you kind of just take a deep breath and you feel all better. And I think that that's a great example of building up tension and then giving the players a great way to release all of that all at once and to feel awesome. And it was a great way to end the game the way they did. So in that sense, it's art. Another example of art in video games, I'd say, is Grand Theft Auto. What is Grand Theft Auto but a story of rags to riches? What is Grand Theft Auto but a story of somebody coming to America who has nothing and raising himself out of the dirt? These are stories that we see everywhere. Books and televisions and movies. And we see this and we give those things Oscars, but we refuse to acknowledge it as art. Hypocrisy much? You know, I can only say that much, you know. God of War, again, comes to mind. What is God of War but a Greek epic? You know, Greek epics are pretty much known for having, you know, interesting tales, lots of things involving the gods, blah, 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 blah. But mostly, the underlying things, the underlying themes in Greek epics are blood and gore and fucking sex. And that's really all there is in a Greek epic. And there is plenty of that to go around in God of War. But do I think that that's what makes it art? No. I think that what makes it art is that when we were all children, I'm sure that a lot of us saw the Disney movie Hercules, right? A lot of us learned quite a bit from that movie. A lot of us saw that and said, all right, cool. Greek mythology, quite interesting. And it was that movie and a couple of other things. If you're a bit older than me, you've of course seen the original Clash of the Titans. So, at least I'd hope so. And those are the type of things that get people interested in mythology, and that's great. And God of War is a mythology game. So what it is basically giving you a Greek epic, a tale of incredible violence, lots of nudity, lots of sex, lots of Greek themes and all of their stories, and letting you play through it, giving you an experience that you had previously never had from watching a movie or reading a book. And I think that that in itself is a very artistic thing. Now, some of you may not agree with me. You might not think that video games are art, and a lot of people argue they're not just because they have that name game in them. But I would implore you guys, especially anybody working in the video game industry, to try to come up with a different name for what we have. It's not video games anymore. It should be more serious. And we should be taken seriously as people who play video games and people who make them and all of that. There should be no problems. In the description, I'm going to provide quite a few links. One is to, of course, to the Roger Ebert article. One is to a counterpoint made to, well, not exactly a counterpoint, but a different video that was made almost in response to that. Another video was made by a small-time guy. I don't know his name, but I will find him, and I'll put that video in there. He has a very similar video to what I just did. Another video is going to be from IGN, the top 100 developers, talking about what they think of games as art. And I think that will be it. Before I do that, I want to say one thing to Mr. Roger Ebert. If you are watching this, I just want to say one thing. I'm not going to call you any names, unfortunately. Mr. Ebert, you may not believe that video games are art. And no matter how much I believe that you have failed to move forward in this new age, you know, that is your opinion, and you are entitled to that, just as I am entitled to it, entitled to mine as well. But the way I see it is this. You might not believe that things are art, but you have no reason to go along saying that just because you have a blog and you are rich and famous and all of this, because all you are doing is taking something away from other people that believe it is art. Because the way I see it is that if one person is interested in a video game because of its artisticness, they might also be interested in a piece of literature or a movie or a book or a poem or this, that, or the other, which all fall under literature, honestly. But they would be interested in other types of art if they're interested in the art of a video game. And I think that if you want to sit there and say that video games are art, you're just snatching that out from under them. And all I could say to that is, how dare you?